kick with a 20-yard run out. Good ball for Roberto Carlos. Hooked into the penalty area towards Zidane. Nani. Rooney! Oh, wonderful! Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli. Aguero!
Good evening to everybody. Good evening. What a great weekend of football, depending on who you support. As a Spurs fan, I live vicariously through Arsenal's poor results. So I'm just, and by that, I mean, Arsenal drawing at Anfield is now what I am celebrating. That's how far down we've gone. Talking about Arsenal, Devo, big up, man. How are you? You well?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for having me on. As always, happy to be here. Looking forward to talking about that game.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get into that immediately. We've got the Perchy TV from Tottenham Hotspur. Perchy, how are you? That was just like watching Spurs, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. It was like watching prime Tottenham Hotspur play earlier. Yeah, jokes. That is, yeah, no. It was what a game of football. But yeah, I'm good, mate.
Good. We've got Dave. Dave, we're not going to talk about Nottingham Forest tonight, but how are you, Dave? You well?
Physically well, mentally well, and I've survived the strains of the last week from Leeds United to Aston Villa to here. So if we could politely just park Nottingham Forest to one side, that'd be lovely. Talk about somebody else.
I will park Nottingham Forest. I will, and making his debut. Big up, Daps. It's been a long time coming. How are you, mate? You well?
I'm good. I'm buzzing. Firstly, sensational performance last night. On Big Six. Salute to you for that. And it's good to get on with a panel that I haven't done as much with to talk football with. And you know what a time. We're cooking, man. We're cooking.
Talking of cooking, Grizz will agree. He got a bit of a cooking last night, didn't he, from me? Big up, Grizz. Hope you're well. Listen, let's get straight into it. Welcome to everyone in the chat. This is not a Tottenham show, please. This is not Tottenham. This is everything but Tottenham. Daps, let's start with you. That was, listen, we've been here before with Man City, right? Where everyone's talking about Man City. They're the best team in the tournament. They're going to win it. But that truly was a resounding statement of intent of winning the Champions League, wasn't it?
You know what, right? So every season when I see us as favourites for the Champions League, I don't get it, right? Because this show is called Heritage TV. I was at the Bernabeu last season, yeah, and this has been our issue. We don't have the experience in the Champions League. We haven't done it yet. And I'm a true believer of Liverpool and Real Madrid. They get things done because they know how to do it. And we're still getting those moments. We're still having to have those big nights. Like tonight was another one of them. We're having to have those big nights. But for me tonight, and this is why we got Haaland, by the way, because we could have carried on dominating the Premier League by playing the false nine. Someone at the club, as a collective, decided we need something different for the Champions League, right? And against Leipzig, it was a warning. Those 5 goals was, we're not going to be the same as we were last year against Real Madrid and not carry a big result into the second leg if it's away from home. I wanted a 2-goal lead. Tonight, and do you know what it was? It wasn't, I could say Haaland, you know, the goal, the assist, great. I could say Bernardo Silva didn't stop running. But the fact is, I can't tell you a bad player on the pitch tonight. We played Bayern in 2013, 2014 when Pep managed them. They had a player sent off and they still won 3-1. And it felt like they had 11 men on the pitch and we had 10 men. And tonight, that is what Pep managed to do. Now, in the Champions League, people say Pep overthinks things when he gets it wrong. And they're right. But every manager should overthink every single game because then things like tonight happen. That was Pep working out how to play against Bayern Munich. And it was just, I'm happy, man. I'm going next week to Munich and it's like we're going for a party. So,
yeah, well, listen, I mean, he gets accused of overthinking, but I guess when you're a tactical genius, it's not always going to work. I mean, Devo, let me come to you. Look, you guys obviously are pushing, I say pushing, you know, you're 6 points clear at the top of the table in the Premier League, but that really was a masterclass in how to play football tonight, wasn't it? From the defence, who I think, as Dap said, look, we could talk. Haaland's going to always take the plaudits. Silva, De Bruyne, Grealish. I thought Ake, Stones, Akanji, I thought they were sensational tonight across the pitch. What did you make of it, Devo?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have BT Sports. I did not watch that game. I've got 2 kids. I cannot afford to pay out the nose for all of this football. So BT Sports had to go last year. But to speak on Man City's defence, well, I've had no need to watch BT Sports, to be honest. We're not in the Champions League, so I might have to get it back next year.
I think you're safe.
Back next year. You will.
I'm pretty sure you're going to get Champions League.
We'll have that. But to speak on Nathan Ake, if I may, I think he has been probably the best defender in the league this year. He's been consistently brilliant for Man City. He's been going about his business, whether he's playing left back, centre back.
Yeah.
He's been immense, and I think he kind of goes under the radar. And I think one thing about Man City, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. Everyone says they spend so much money. They got Nathan Ake from Bournemouth. He's not a superstar. They spent the money because he is a bloody good defender. I think you'll see Man City very rarely pay over the odds for a player. I think the Jack Grealish thing is probably the only thing we could say that's a bit iffy. But see how good Jack Grealish has been this season. So I think you have to give it to Pep. He's picked out players like Diaz, players like Akanji, players like Ake, who aren't necessarily massive household names, but he's made them into top class defenders. So he's just a manager who could do a bit of everything. So when we're talking about the league, it scares the bejesus out of me that City are chasing us. And we'll come on to it in a bit with the whole Liverpool game and that. But this game is scary. If you're an Arsenal fan and you've seen this result, you're thinking, dear God, can we stay in front of them?
Yeah, I mean, Perchy, obviously, as Spurs fans, we don't get to ever watch that sort of quality from our own team. But, I mean, it is not only a statement of intent in terms of the Champions League. I would pretty much say that unless Man City crumble and lose 4-0, that's them through. But as Devo alluded to there, Perchy, if you're Arsenal watching this, everyone keeps telling me that, oh, well, Arsenal only have 1 game a week, Man City have 2, and that's going to be a hindrance. I actually think it's the opposite, Perchy. I think Man City like playing. The more games they play, they just look like a juggernaut that can't be stopped. What do you make of that?
No, totally agree with what you're saying. The one thing what Man City do, which is at this stage of the season, they go on these incredible runs where they just don't look like losing. And do you know what it is? It's not like they're winning stuff. They're battering teams. Today, I genuinely thought they turned Bayern Munich into looking like a championship side today. And that's no disrespect on Bayern Munich. Man City were that good today. That game deservedly needed to finish 5-0. They were that good. There was so many.
Their keeper was good, isn't it? Their keeper.
Their keeper made about 2 or 3 amazing saves. And I look back and I go, it was like an FA Cup game when Man City are playing Blackburn Rovers in the FA Cup and they just steamroll them. It was that they were that good, and it was like, and that was nothing on Bayern Munich, by the way. That just showed how good that Man City team. And this is what they do, though. You guys, you obviously know more. You watch them every week, but it seems every season it comes down to Man City just being this, as you say, Sav, a juggernaut, and you just steamroll teams.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, big up Kaz. I'll come to you in a second, my man. Welcome. Dave, as you pointed out in the group chat, Nottingham Forest have won the Champions Leagues before, some time ago.
Before you were all born, lads.
Thank you. It wasn't
European Cup.
Did the Nottingham Forest of the 70s, did they play that sort of football that we saw from Man City tonight? Just how good was that tonight?
No, you know what, lads? I've seen City home and away this year, and in both games, even the one where we somehow managed to take a point off them at the City ground, they are the brothers from another planet. I mean, we all came up, we're 23 years out of this league, and then you kind of think you think you understand the gulf between the Championship and the top flight, and then you go to Manchester City towards the end of August, and you get the biggest lesson in football in life you ever get. We were like, I remember going that night to the Etihad, and it was a freakish occasion really for Forest, because there was a sense at first that we were happy to be there, and then at the end there was a sense that we were happy to get the hell out of Dodge. Do you know what I mean? Because we were running around like, to use the parlance, we were like blue-ass flies, Forest, chasing everything, trying to close down, and City played at walking pace, and yet they were 20 yards quicker in thought and deed than Forest ever could be. And I remember there were some surreal moments, like when we all like, oh, great, Erling Haaland's going off, and they replaced him with Kevin De Bruyne, so like out of the frying pan into the fire, from the sublime to the super sublime. And then when Haaland got the man of the match, all the Forest fans who, let's remember, didn't leave the ground early like some other clubs left the Etihad.
You didn't. You didn't.
We stayed. Daps will tell you, we stayed right to the end. When Erling Haaland got the man of the match award, we all applauded him. It was berserk. But I think they are. I have flip-flopped between Arsenal and Manchester City because I really like what Arsenal are doing. And why do you say that City don't have that heritage in Europe, which they're trying to gather and collate? They do have the heritage in the Premier League, which Arsenal don't have. So, I tend to think that this, and as Percy mentioned and Devo's mentioned, it's this timing of the run every year. When you get to the City are a team that almost are kind of catalyzed by the business end of the season, and they are beginning to gather momentum. Arsenal have kept their momentum. I just wonder how much that Granit Xhaka, Trent Alexander-Arnold incident at the weekend is a turning point. We'll have to see. But I think City really need this Champions League to complete the set, if you like.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important.
That puts us up there, as in, because I do believe there might be, like at the moment, Man United doing a treble with the Champions League. Yeah, that for me, I'll admit it, that's the best you can achieve in a season, unless you do the quad, right? But if you look at over a period, the fact we've retained it twice in the last 5 years. We've done 100 points, 98 points this season after, while also doing a double, then a treble. Everything that we've achieved over this period puts us there where we would be the best ever. But we need those big ears. We do. And do you know what? Our fan base need it, but Pep needs it as well, because for everything he's brought our club, I want him to get that, because everyone is judging him, not us as a fan base, but everyone else is saying if he doesn't do that. So I'm like, do you know what? Let him get that. But you're spot on. Tonight was different. I can't lie. Tonight was just a special.
It was
phenomenal.
I want to ask Kaz if he's finished eating. I don't know what you chewing.
I'm just waiting for Oreos and a cup of tea.
Nice. I'm jealous. Kaz, let me ask you, like, as a Man United fan,
they're not winning the treble anyways.
Hang on, I haven't even got the question out yet. Give me a second, Kaz. That was going to be part 2 of my question. Watching City pop the ball around the way they do, and I think I've underplayed it there. The football they play. If they did go on to win this treble, right, Kaz? If they
then
did,
I'll clap them.
Right, would they be as good as the Man United team that did the treble in '99?
Well, they won the 3 trophies, didn't they? So it's just as good, isn't it?
I'm asking: is there a difference? Is there, it's?
Well, let's face it. Arsenal have already won the league, according to their fans, since January. So they've won the league, so they're not doing a treble. Don't matter, anyways. You got to overhurdle the Bernabeu, which is going to be. I think if you beat Madrid, you just deserve to win the Champions League, anyways. If I'm being honest, that's no bigger feat in that. I'm seeing Inter Milan go through with Benfica at the moment. That means Napoli are through. Done deals. So yeah, it might be Man City to lose at this point, but Real Madrid are just a different animal, aren't they? They're not City, so it is what it is.
The key for me, I said this when we got Bayern, right? I said it's not the best draw, but it's not the worst draw, because some City fans were saying they wanted Real in the quarters. I said we're not ready yet. Give us one more night at the Etihad, one more special night at the Etihad, right? Because we have not lost at the Etihad in the Champions League since 2017, right? We are turning over teams at the Etihad for fun. It gets underrated. And the key is, I said, if we can beat Bayern over 2 legs, with the second leg being at the Allianz, then whether it be Chelsea or Real Madrid, it's Real Madrid, then the second leg of that game, this is the important one.
Is this a foregone conclusion that Real Madrid are going to smack Chelsea up?
Yeah.
Are we all going?
You would
with
think
it?
so.
Oh,
Is everyone here?
Football's a funny old game.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
They're right there,
Chelsea when they replace a manager, and then they go in, they have a weird thing about
Winning the Champions League.
Winning a Champions League with a caretaker manager.
And there's a weird thing with Real Madrid that won.
It happens all the time.
Erling Haaland scored more goals than Chelsea's whole team.
Listen, I'm just creating a debate, right? That's all I'm doing here, lads.
No,
Listen,
Chelsea,
I'm not saying I think
Chelsea are not beating Madrid. They got Super Frank. That's what you deserve, mate, innit? You got Super Frank. They ain't doing nothing. They can't buy a goal. They got a couple. They well against Dortmund. Don't get me wrong, but that's it.
Is it not written in the stars for Frank Lampard to win the Champions League?
No,
what, and then get the job permanently.
That's what I'm saying, Babs. Can you imagine in the summer them going, "Thanks for winning the Champions League. In comes Luis Enrique or someone." Do you know what I mean?
You know what?
They go, "Sorry, Enrique, we don't want you. We're going to keep Fat Frank."
Yeah.
Did anyone think Di Matteo was going to win it with Chelsea?
He did a double as well.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, but back then you have Lampard and Drogba. They have got Kai Havertz and flipping Mason.
That's fair.
I'll ask you this question. I'll ask this question for anyone who watches Spanish football, right? And don't get me wrong, I get it. And the word right underneath all our faces here, where it says heritage, is Real Madrid in Champions League, right? But this Real Madrid, I've watched a lot this year. They look really suspect at the back.
Villarreal.
They look very, very ordinary. Now, I don't think. No, listen, I know that's what I'm saying.
Hey, against Liverpool they were as well.
But you say that.
I'll count
Chelsea have been poor in the league. So
what?
You can't say Real Madrid have been poor in the league.
What about Barcelona then? They've been absolutely they conceded like 9 goals this season league. Come against Man United, get spanked. Come in the Champions League, get spanked out the league. I mean, out of the Champions League. What's the difference? Ancelotti. Go look at Ancelotti's AC Milan. Didn't even win the league. Come to the Champions League though. Wins it.
So okay. So we're assuming. So all 6 of us are saying that Real Madrid are gonna knock Chelsea out, right?
Well, if I can find good odds, I'm going on it heavy.
Yeah. Okay. If my money was on it, I'm putting it on Real Madrid, of course.
Okay. Yeah. So Real Madrid versus Manchester City over 2 legs. Let's look at that as a real prospect. And I know if there's any Chelsea fans, they're going to be like, "Hang on, we haven't even kicked a ball yet of 180 minutes," but they're out. Chelsea are out.
Matisse ended a show. I said to him, when we face Real Madrid in the semi-final, and he said, "Now I'm ending it now so I can clip you up because you've just discredited us." As in and I said, 100%, bro. There's not there's about as much chance as Arsenal beating us at the Etihad as Chelsea going through.
Yeah. Okay.
Any Bayern Munich fans watching?
This credit, what credit do they have for right now in this moment of time? How can you give them any credit?
Okay. So Real Madrid, Man City, right? In 2 legs in a semi-final, I think personally, Man City absolutely slap Real Madrid as though they're a championship team.
I truly believe the key to it is
this last time.
No, but the difference is there's 2 differences, but the most important one that never gets spoke about enough. I said if we beat Bayern over 2 legs, and the reason why I said if is because the second leg is at the Allianz, right?
Yeah.
The second leg, this time, against Real Madrid, is at the Etihad. That's the difference. Going to the Bernabeu, second leg is long, right? Anything can happen. The second leg is at the Etihad. So for me, I think I've said it. If we beat Bayern over 2 legs, we win the Champions League.
You know what? I'm gonna say one thing. Yeah, see that Bayern game that just happened now. That wasn't as clear as day. Both teams played well up to a certain minute. Man City played, but Bayern actually played well. If I'm being honest, I ain't heard one prop for Edison, who was there for me. Were the top 2 best players on the pitch, him and Rodri.
Yeah, but Kaz, are you giving Bayern any hope? 3-0.
No. You don't go to Allianz. I'm sorry, City ain't conceding 3 at Allianz. Bernabeu, don't write off Madrid, but this Madrid team, look, they don't have a recognised striker. They should have probably played Mane, not Gnabry. He was non-existent. Sane should have buried 2 goals out of his 4 chances that he had. If we're being honest. That could have changed the whole game. And there was another one where Diaz done the flipping splits where the ball was going bottom bins from Musiala's shot. He done the splits.
Did you clock how he did that? You know what? Nader Manua on City's channel spoke about this, yeah? And he said, as a defender, this won't get given enough props. It's the way he does it, that he's not just blocked it, but the way he's made sure his hands are behind his back, where his second leg's gone. Everything was done with purpose to make sure there was no penalty given, no free kick given. It was just done perfectly. Also, can I just say, Tuchel, when he arrived at Chelsea, yes, for 3 games, he had Pep's cards. But since then, while at Chelsea, once that was over, once the Champions League final was over, he did not get a sniff against us. And tonight we saw it again. This Tuchel prop needs to stop for me as well, by the way. I don't think he's that good a manager.
Well, listen,
I've been saying that.
I tell you what I think speaks volumes about Tuchel and his popularity is even us Spurs fans, right, who don't win a thing, when it came out that Conte had been sacked, Tuchel went in immediately as I think it was 1-2 on at one point when he purchased or something. It was like Spurs are in talks with Tuchel and it was like, oh my God, this can't be happening. And then thank God Nagelsmann was sacked the next day and they took Tuchel. But the fact that little old Spurs were going, no, we don't want Tuchel. Why is that, people? What Tuchel's a league-winning manager.
Wait. Somehow we're making this about Spurs somehow, or
no. We're not making this about Spurs. What we're doing is saying why is Tuchel? I don't know if the word is respected. Why is he not elevated to that level of other Champions League and league-winning managers? What is it about him that people don't like?
He's just a cup manager, mate. He's not a league manager. He's a cup manager. He's probably the future version of maybe Ancelotti, maybe. I don't know. Or just the odd bum that won the Champions League and then do nothing afterwards. That might be just it.
Do you know what? He's a likable person as well, to be fair. Like, he is. I get why Chelsea's fan base like him. Because
he gets a proper striker. That team ain't bad.
Last year, with him going through a divorce and all of that and everything, and the way he stood loyal to the club, being put in front of the press, having to answer awkward questions, I do understand why Chelsea's fan base love him, but to the point where Chelsea's fan base, I believe that Potter got sacked because half of Chelsea's fan base were on ferries to Munich to start supporting them, right? Just because Tuchel went there. So I just look at it and think he was a decorator. He put wallpaper up at Chelsea, literally, over the cracks. That's all he did.
Yeah, but if you take into consideration the Graham Potter period and what's happening now at Chelsea and where they are in the league, maybe there's a little bit of maybe we jumped too soon. Maybe we got rid of him too soon. I'm not saying he's a fantastic manager in the the Guardiola level or the Ancelotti level or whatever. But I think if I was a Chelsea fan now, thinking, you know what, might have got rid too quick, because Chelsea at the moment are probably the most anonymous team in the whole of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Even we are not as anonymous as Chelsea are. They're just in this limbo in the middle where nobody really cares. I don't think even they care. It's almost like it goes back to that Conte handshake. You know what I mean?
So listen, before we move on to league action, then. So I'm going to go round robin. I want to know who's winning the Champions League, and just give me a team and a quick reason why. Devo, I'm going to start with you. Who's winning this Champions League?
City. I think it's City's year. I think that Haaland will be the difference in the closer games, the tight games. I think Haaland, as you said, Madrid's defence has looked suspect. Haaland will absolutely lick his lips coming up against Madrid. I think it's City's year.
Perchy, who are we going for, my friend?
Sorry, so what? Say that again?
Who's winning the Champions League and why?
Man City, hands down. Because they've got Erling Haaland.
So Erling Haaland's the difference. This is what we're saying. Yeah, okay. Well, this is interesting because all season I've been watching people make videos all season about how Erling Haaland is the reason why Man City aren't very good.
I remember that. So we were having, I'm not even a City fan, but I was having wars about that at the start of the season, just because he can't do what Jesus does and goes deep and does a little fancy flick over the head and still draws against Liverpool, innit?
Yeah.
But, cool.
Instead, he just
45 goals.
Yeah, instead he just bangs in 45 goals by the beginning of April. Do you know what I mean?
And if they don't, they just bring on Julian Alvarez and they do the same thing.
Yeah, literally.
Can I just say though as well on Haaland, the thing is, it's going below the radar. I believe he's now on 6 assists this season, which is
even more than that, I swear.
It might be more than that, yeah. And people will keep trying to find a narrative, like they do on my club. To be frank,
Let's have a look.
any narrative,
yeah, he's on 6
do
assists.
something
You're right.
negative. And do you know what? The guy, I've said this before. When we got him, I was more excited about Alvarez. I like the shithousery of Haaland, but I was actually excited about Alvarez. But Haaland, the way he's come in and hit the ground running, and I think you're right with him. I think just the mentality. I said at half time, he'd been quiet, but that means he's going to score. And he got an assist as well. He just focused. It's mad. I never give predictions, let alone on winning stuff. But and I struggle to believe in the Champions League because I think maybe we're not ready. I honestly believe we're winning it this season. Honestly.
No, I think you are.
Dave, can you shed any light? Dave, are you going to give any props to the other half of the draw, which is the Napoli? Who is it? Napoli, Inter Milan, Benfica, and
AC Milan.
AC Milan.
AC
You should
Milan.
know that. You should know that, Sav.
I don't know what you mean, mate. My club don't play in the Champions League. Go on, Dave, what?
Well, as the only member of this panel with a European Cup here in my cabinet, or two actually, can I just say that Manchester City win the Champions League this year? I think they beat Napoli in the final. Manchester City will win the Champions League this year because the route to the final seems harder than it's been in previous years. I really hope they do. Just because I support Nottingham Forest means I don't, I love other clubs, lots of other clubs. I love football, and football is above my club as being the most important thing. I really want Manchester City to win it. I think that they are the best team I've ever seen. That night at the Etihad when they beat us 6-0, they were just mind-blowing. And I walked out with a lot of City fans that night who were fantastic. So I hope they win it. I also think City want to win it because they want to stop Forest going to the Etihad and singing Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. So I think City, I really hope City cement that kind of almost, like they use in American sports, that dynasty status. They've won the league, they've won the FA Cup, they won the League Cup, if they get this Champions League, then I think it sends City on the way to being that great club. And I hope they do it.
Let's see then, Kaz, as a Man United fan, are you completing the full house and going with Man City, or have you got your eyes on someone else?
No, because if Real Madrid played that Man City team tonight, I guarantee Benzema's burying 2 goals at least. And I think City would have still buried probably 2 goals as well. That's the difference. We're not convinced by Bayern, but I'm convinced by this team. It's just you can't write off Benzema, man. And right now you can't write off Vinicius. And if there's something that City is prone to, which we saw today, was counter-attack. And that's why I think Napoli will end up winning it anyways. Because their front three is devastating.
Napoli's?
Yeah, devastating.
I've feared Napoli from the start of the season, to be honest.
I can't lie.
They're the one team that can outscore us.
They've already won the league. So they don't even need to worry about that crap anymore. They can drop points if they wanted to, and which they have. Now they're going to focus on the Champions League. Now you got your Politano, Victor Osimhen. There's a guy called Victor Osimhen right now who's powerful as well. And then they've got Kvaratskhelia, who's just as, if not very similar to Jack Grealish. Don't lose the ball.
Do you know why that game's interesting?
It's going to be about the midfield, really. And they've got a couple of decent centre-backs, if you ever heard of them.
I said at the start of the season that I feel like for City to win their first Champions League, we need to play, most importantly, a team that also hasn't won it yet. Napoli, right? Because I think like last season, Liverpool, I think if they played anyone but Real Madrid, Liverpool would have won the Champions League last season. But when you play a team that just knows how to do it that little bit more than you do, so us and Napoli is such an interesting tie because neither of us has done it before. We're both playing potentially the best football. And I'm with Napoli's the one from the start of the season I've said they could outscore us.
Do you know what? I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if anyone on this panel agrees with me. I truly believe if Man City play Napoli, as good as Napoli have been, I think Man City will dominate that game to the point of 3 or 4-0. I think Napoli are a good team. I just don't know if they've come up against anybody of the ilk of Man City.
I think the fact that they managed to dominate a Bayern Munich midfield tonight, which their midfield is very good, by the way, and dominate maybe is a little bit harsh, but ultimately we were the better team tonight against a midfield that is probably one of the few midfields in the world that actually you'd say, do you know what, that midfield's as good as City's. So
you battered them. Like as I said earlier, you made him look like a championship side today. And again, that's no disrespect. I
Not just
genuinely
that,
think
Upper
they were
Meccano's
that good.
garbage, man. I've been
Yeah,
telling
he was
people I
bad,
can't like
agreed.
I can't remember who had
He
a
had a mare,
conversation
he had a
last.
mare.
Was it last week? Maybe it's on a rival show last week or something. That I was saying Upper Meccano don't move me whatsoever. Yeah, he can move the ball a bit, but that guy is a clusterfuck. Like honestly,
Bro,
this guy don't.
I'm not being funny.
Konate was
I
always the
turned
better one
some
out
of
of the two.
Always.
really
Yeah,
rated
Konate is.
defenders at the moment in Europe.
Havard is mid.
But bro,
Oh my
don't
God.
you think there's quite a few midfielders in Europe at the moment that are maybe going to your likes of Bayern, going to the likes of Real Madrid that are overrated massively? Like younger, defenders. Sorry, defenders.
Dabs, do you know what? Listen, I saw a conversation earlier, and I think you were actually on the show, Kaz. Yeah, you were. You were on the show earlier, and I think people were talking about the standard of players now versus the last sort of 20, 30 years. And for me, I just think,
earlier, isn't it?
yeah. I think there's a real, I want to say dearth, but I feel like that's not a word.
It's
Anyway,
a
That's a word. That's
Yeah,
a word.
okay.
A drought,
We're making it a word
famine,
Yeah, do you know what?
Yeah.
I do that
Or
every
between
time.
college.
Every time I make a video in the morning, I put in words and go, I
shortage.
feel like I've made it up, but hey, it's my dictionary. I feel like there's a real shortage, thank you, of top players now, and because of that, I feel like a lot of the big clubs are now having to go and get players who could be good, rather than the days when they went out and bought players who were good. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think
even if you look at Madrid. Going and getting, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're not good, but Real Madrid never used to go and buy a young Tchouaméni and a young Camavinga. They'd go and buy the finished article. Now they're going, right, where's the top midfielders in the world? Okay, we'll have to get a 20-year-old. Everyone's talking about Bellingham, Musiala, right? Enzo Fernandez coming to Chelsea. That's just midfield. Where's the quality centre backs? Where's the quality midfielders?
Defenders,
I think the thing is,
you know what?
Say that when they buy Mbappe
with
in the end.
defenders. The thing is with
If they
defenders,
buy
I think
Mbappe.
because defending's changed so much over the years,
Yeah.
they're now not looking at defensive ability first. It's can you play out from the back? Can you play out from the back? Have you got these kind of kind of ability? Whereas before, your defender was there to defend. You're stopping that ball going in the net no matter what. Now you have to do so much more to your game. So I think sometimes the defensive aspect of it is kind of overlooked. I think someone like Upper Meccano, he defensively he's all over the place. But
he can't even get his balance right.
That's it, and he could bring the ball out. But other than that, I've watched him for years, Bundesliga merchant.
This is why Sergio Ramos is the best defender of all time.
Agreed, Ramos, and also, can I just say, for me, this is why I am so thankful.
Who's better than him? You're gonna say Maldini, innit?
No,
hang on. Did I just hear that? Did I just hear that from Kaz? Did you just say Sergio Ramos was the best defender of all time?
Oh no, it's Maldini.
No. Look, Maldini's there. I get it, but we're talking about the complete package of defenders. We're talking Sergio Ramos. He won more than him, done more than him, and everyone just because Maldini's name's out there. Don't get me wrong, he was a great tackler and great reader of the game, but so was John Terry. You know what I mean?
Hang on. Ramos for me should have been. Ramos for me is who Maldini finished the game, took his boots off, and went, right, can you go and clean them for me, mate? He can't lace his boots.
This is what I mean, man. This guy, we're talking about a guy that done the Spanish team stuff. The guy can play out the back. He can do there's nothing Sergio Ramos can't do. Done what Maldini did, right back, centre back.
If Sergio Ramos was that good, if Sergio Ramos was that good, he wouldn't get that many yellow cards.
No, what do you mean?
We're
Going to go off the quote, with Maldini saying if you have to go to ground and you've already made a mistake as a defender, that's complete bollocks.
Okay.
Don't believe everything you read.
I'll see your Ramos, and Dave, I know you're gonna. I'm hoping, Dave. We've never had this conversation. I'm going out on a whim here, Dave. I'm gonna raise you a Franco Baresi.
Oh, he was wicked, that guy.
Oh, quality player.
Even Rio Ferdinand was better than Sergio Ramos.
Yeah, best defender I've ever seen.
Rio Ferdinand was terrible.
You know what the maddest thing is? People all say
Bobby Moore is the best I've ever seen. Bobby Moore was the best I've ever seen.
When was you born?
When was I born? 1832. I was found in a shoebox in a railway station. I was brought up in a workhouse. No, basically, look. I mean, I can see Kaz's point about Sergio Ramos with the trophies laid on the table and the medals, right?
Yeah.
But I can also see Perch's view that a player that good wouldn't need to be so poor in discipline, right? I mean, the two I was thinking about. Baresi's a good shout. Now, Baresi was a quality player. Maldini was a quality player. both of them. I would chuck in Franz Beckenbauer when he was playing for Germany and Bayern Munich back in the 70s, and I would chuck in Bobby Moore. You know,
Sorry,
from
can I
my
just say on
era.
the discipline side as well, that it's very fair to say that it's a lot easier to get yellow cards in Sergio Ramos's era than it was in Maldini's era.
Thank you.
Yeah, listen, for me, I get Percy's point about the yellow cards. Listen, I like Sergio Ramos. I think Sergio Ramos has been one of the best 2 or 3 centre-backs for the last sort of 15, 20 years.
Crawl, to be honest.
But I put Sergio Ramos in the same bracket, maybe not even as good as a Marcel Desailly.
What?
Yeah, who I thought,
Desailly was good.
What? He was wicked, but he's nowhere
Desailly's
near
a
Sergio
great
Ramos, man.
Carlos Puyol, who was epic.
Oh, Puyol just
He was
shout.
good, but he's not Ramos. I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
Carlos
he's
Puyol
better.
was sick, but
So
Ramos
He's
was
better than Ramos.
This is why
Ramos was better.
Puyol and
by the way-
Ramos are 2 sides of the same coin because it's Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Yeah, they
And
were.
if you're going to say it about Sergio Ramos, you have to say it about Carlos Puyol.
And Dave,
I hear
both
it.
had lovely hair. Both
I
had
hear it.
lovely long
I
hair.
hear it, but
I
I hear it. But Sergio Ramos, literally, from the
A
day
vital
he
aspect,
stepped into
Savva.
Sevilla, was winning things. The day he stepped into Sevilla, he already went to
I
Madrid.
think his
What,
mentality was very
2
special.
years later,
Very
ridiculous.
special mentality.
You're talking about back then, yeah. Madrid don't buy products that are young and upcoming. They did it with Dani Alves. Pretty much. And sorry. Barcelona also did the same thing. They did that with Dani Alves, same way Real Madrid did it with Sergio Ramos. They bought him when they were young because they were sick from the day dot.
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying they've never done it, but what I'm saying is, going back to the original point was, I feel like teams are doing it more and more now because let me put it out there to you guys.
Because everyone costs 100 million these days for bang average talent.
Yeah, that's
like
true,
Anthony.
Kaz. But let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question, right? All of you. You can all chip into this. If 5 top clubs in Europe this window turn around and go, do you know what we need more than anything? We need a Rodri type central midfielder that goes in and runs a game. Go. Give me 5 across Europe.
Oof.
You can't.
That's
That's
tough.
very-
You
That's tough.
can't. This is my point. So
Yeah.
what people will start doing is they'll go, right, who's up and coming that has already been told they're going to be the next Ballon d'Or winner? And this is where I think football has got to now.
Twitter. That's what Twitter's done.
Yeah, of course it has. Of course it has. We're seeing it now with, like, don't get me wrong, like, I think Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea, he's a quality footballer, but back in the day, he would have been 40 million, right? But because there's no central midfielders out there, they've gone, that's 120, right? But who is out there? When I look across Europe, I look at all the big clubs. Who are the midfielders? Because you're not getting Pedri and Gavi.
Different because it's all system. It's all system ball these days. This is why
mean,
football is
agreed.
regret. For me, football's just regressed because of system.
It's
ball.
homogenous.
I
The
agree.
coaching has made it homogenous. Everybody. I mean, really, the only phenomenon there's only 2 phenomena in football at the moment. One's Messi, and he's at the end of his career, and the other guy who's a freak who stands out from everything across the board because of like his build and what he's doing is Erling Haaland. But everybody else, like
I thought you were going to say Eric Dyer there for a minute.
Oh, actually, now you mention it, no, bugger him. So,
No,
like,
you're right.
basically, it's all about. It seems to me, I mean, seeing a lot of football over nearly 60 years, right? The individuality these days that we used to take for granted and used to kind of have your socks knocked off by, it's all been coached out, and everybody's been fitting. It's like they're Lego bricks now, rather than something, something unusual. When I was a kid, I remember seeing Pele, Cruyff, like Maradona. These guys are, where's this guy come from? And you think, wow, and it catches your imagination. Apart from these days, Erling Haaland, nobody does that because everybody fits into a system. So I think Kaz's point about this coaching, homogenizing everything.
I agree. So we're talking Mavericks. Like when I was growing up, depending on what we want that to mean. When I was, if we look at I watched football through the late 80s. Yeah, so I was born in 82. But if I look at the 90s and early noughties, right, I was looking at Maverick players like
Ronaldo, Arnold.
Yeah, but even without forwards, like I was talking about, like Maverick midfielders, people like
Juninho.
Ortega, Juninho, right? These players that went in the hole, created, did what they wanted. Yeah, right. Players like that. That even the JJ Kochers.
What a player!
Exactly.
Great player.
Now I look at it and go, like I said earlier about midfielders. How many playmakers in world football? How many goal scorers in world football? In Italy, I remember growing up in Italy, you could name about 30 just in Serie A. Now I can't think of 10 across the world.
Do you know? I think
10 out-and-out goal scorers.
Do you know?
So yeah, go for it, mate.
Sorry, just going back to the defenders one, I think something quite interesting when you look at how this season's gone at City, right? Is in the summer we got offered 45 million for Nathan Ake, right?
Seems like
by Chelsea, and City said, "Let's go and test the market." Went and looked at the market and came back and said, "No, you know what? We'll keep him." Right?
Yeah.
Now, when you look at it, you think, yeah, you're spot on, because you guarantee they would have gone and looked for centre-backs when other clubs are looking at centre-backs, because Tottenham wanted one, I think United were out there, everyone was out for centre-backs, and they would have been quoted 90 million for basic centre-backs with no Premier League experience, and just gone, nah, this market.
But Daps, didn't Harry Maguire set that trend? Didn't that trend set? And we had this chat earlier, Perchy, on a WhatsApp group where, you know, football now for me isn't about what the player is worth. It's about what the club can receive, right? But now you're talking about, if I said to you, right, there's 50 million, go and buy yourself a top centre half, right? Only a few select scouts will go, I know the next big thing, right? Other than that, where are the centre halves? Where are the centre mids? Where are the strikers?
Well, the thing is,
we got one for 45 million called Martinez, but
if you, just use the Harry Maguire example, right? But it's because there's so much money in the game now that clubs, specifically in the Premier League, if we divert it into just the Premier League for just this one moment, there's so much money in it that clubs like Leicester, any club within the Premier League, don't, unless they get offered money that is off the record crazy money, they don't actually need to accept it. That's why the likes of Leicester can accept 80. They'll go, do you know what? We want 80 million. We want 80 million quid for Maguire. He's not an 80 million quid player. Same, for example, you use Jack Grealish with Man City. He's not a £100 million player.
No, he wasn't.
But even at the time, no one knew Van Dijk was not worth 70 million.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Because he was.
No, he wasn't.
The fact is, a player is worth what the club will pay for him.
Exactly.
At the point, the fact that Van Dijk came in and was probably the final piece that won in the league, they will say he was. But it's how much a team needs him. This is the thing with Bellingham. I think there's some clubs that will go, we don't need him that much. But Liverpool might end up getting him because they'll outbid everyone because of how much they think they need him.
Haven't they conceded defeat already? I thought they conceded defeat in that they're pulling out of the bid.
Now Henderson ain't done yet. He's got another Nando's trip.
Henderson and Milner have got another 5-year contract in them. I think if ever there was an example of this, and we've gone way off track, but who cares, right? It's all football talk. If ever there was an example of what you were just saying there, Daps, that it's about what you're prepared to pay for a player. Look at the Arsenal situation in the January transfer window with Caicedo at Brighton. This is a bloke that's been at Brighton for a year. I think just under a year or a year.
He signed 3 years ago, but yeah, he's only played for them for 1 year.
So he's been playing for a year. They signed him for like 4 million or something. Yep. They reject him bids of £80 million. They've just given him a new contract since the window shut. So now anyone that goes back for Caicedo, Brighton are going to go, unless that starts with a 1. Yeah. They have numbers after it.
They have every right to do that, though.
But that's exactly what Grealish did. Grealish with Villa basically went and said, do you know what? I'm going to sign a deal where it guarantees my childhood club 100 million, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
And the Villa fans
that was his last gift to Villa was 100 million. City comes in, give it, and then Villa go and get all that money. And that was his parting gift. Because Brighton know Arsenal will go back for him, but now they're going to have to pay bigger money for him.
But the thing is Brighton's a great point. And some you just took it off the thing about Evan Ferguson. He'll be the one that now goes for big money.
Superb player.
Because I tell you what, Evan Ferguson looks like the next player that is a proper goal scorer.
Yeah.
I watch him play. He's a young 18-year-old lad, and he's scoring some absolute quality goals. And what we were saying earlier, just to sort of go back onto what we were talking about earlier, don't get many proper goal scorers. As I said, if you look at the Premier League, I'd say there's only 2 out-and-out goal scorers, Kane and Haaland. I don't really see any other out-and-out goal scorers.
Tony, Mitrovic and Ferguson. Tony's
a shout. I'd put Tony's a shout.
What did you say? Mitrovic for what?
And young Ferguson, I think, is a proper goal scorer.
I
don't think. Do you know what? I don't think there are any genuine target men centre forwards anymore. Haaland
No.
is probably the only one.
There's
You
an
could say
upcoming one.
Vegas.
There's
You could
other
say
ones.
Vegas. I think he's a decent lad, but a lot of people just write him off,
He's
right?
garbage. He's
Vegas.
not a target man. He's a nothing man.
Who's
Is he
that?
not?
Well, Bagels, he's garbage, man. But what's it called?
He's not Man United level, but he's not a
No,
bad
That's what it is.
striker.
He's not
Who
Man
are we talking
United
about?
level. Yeah.
no, there's quite a few
Bagels.
targets.
Bagels.
There are a few target men up and coming. You got Sesko's he's quite good. I mean, it depends. You can make a guy into target man easily.
But that
Quite a
means
few
he
up and
isn't
down
one.
there. Sesko can do all. He's skillful target man as well. He can do flicks and tricks. That's why they call him Young Zlatan. You know what I mean? He's 6'4". He's the number one.
He'll be.
Tony's
big
a
as well.
play target man, or you can play him as a poacher.
Alvarez. Chuck Alvarez in.
Let me ask you guys a question. Forget target men. Let's look at goal scorers. Can we name between us 10 goal scorers, and hear me out before we start shouting names out, that guarantee you right now 30 goals a season in all competitions? I can think of 6.
They're not number 9s no more. They got in and out goal scorers or wingers.
But that's what I mean. But this is what I mean. Like, so for example, everyone's saying, "Oh, Chelsea need an out-and-out goal scorer," right? Who is there in the world? You've got Kane, Benzema, Haaland, Lewandowski,
Maybe Victor Osimhen.
Victor Osimhen.
Did you say Lukaku?
Mbappe. We've got Mbappe there.
Mbappe, yeah.
Mbappe's not really a striker.
Would Alvarez, if he's playing all games.
I don't think he's
Look, I don't know yet. I'm not sure on that. I'm not sold on it yet.
What about that guy? I mean, I don't know guaranteed at the moment. What about the guy at is it Benfica?
Gonzalo Ramos.
Ramos.
I don't know if he guarantees you 30 goals.
Guarantees you.
But
Nunes
Kaz, this is
got
what I mean.
30.
I'm clutching at straws already after 6 strikers.
There's hardly
And
any.
I remember the days when the golden boot in the Premier League would be consisted of, there was Alan Shearer, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler,
Les
Andy Cole,
Ferdinand.
Les Ferdinand, Teddy Sheringham.
Dwight and Cole
Chris
were
Sutton.
arguing out between them.
But they didn't get 30
Cole.
goals. They didn't get you 30 goals, did they?
Kevin
No, I'm
Phillips.
talking about all competitions.
Andy Cole.
I don't think did Les Ferdinand even do 30 goals
Henry.
this season?
Rooney.
Henry bagged over 24 goals, league goals, 5 years running.
Who's that? Henry.
Henry, yeah.
Yeah, he's retired though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Van Nistelrooy and all that. Van Nistelrooy, Raul, there's loads of
Van
it. There were loads
Nistelrooy,
of man.
See,
So what's
Bernard
happening?
Lallana
Is
There's
it
not that
because-
many anymore.
Is it because of formations now where teams are more relying on the 2 wide men of a 3
Yeah,
to
'cause
grab their goals rather
that's the way it is.
than a main forward?
The normal hit and run, cross the ball in from right mid or left mid with the favoured foot is kind of gone. It's not really. There's not a lot of them anymore, if we're being honest.
They all want to play to cut inside on their better foot. If you're a lefty, you want to play on the right to come in on your left. And they all seem to want to. No, these days, there are very few wingers that both, or wide guys who come inside and go outside.
Yeah, no, you're right.
There's hardly any.
Whoa.
Maybe Grealish is the only one. Do you know what I
It
mean?
goes on the outside. Dembele's another one. He's wicked. He can play with
So-
both feet. He just always gets injured.
Sorry, there's just been a tweet from James Pearce.
What's he said
who I
about
think is
Bellingham
quite a
now?
respected Liverpool. Whoever just said earlier that Liverpool have admitted defeat on Bellingham.
Yeah, that's come out, I think.
Yeah,
What's he said?
I've just seen it. Came out at 9:41.
Yeah, it came out now. I'm reading that. It says, stop making sense. Given the outlay required and what's needed this summer, I felt they couldn't put all the eggs in one basket. With no guarantees
that
they will
makes
either
sense.
leave Dortmund or pick Liverpool either. That's the best thing Liverpool could do for themselves. Go get yourself
No, I
Pellegrini
agree
and
with you.
Mateus Nunes like you should have in the summer anyways, and go get yourself a
Yeah.
Ugarte or something like that. And then you go. It's always go get Madison.
Yeah, you can't throw all that
Mason
money
Mount's on a
after
free.
one player.
Mason
They
Mount's
need
on
a
a
lot
free.
more
That's a
than that.
clock type midfielder. There you go. That's all your midfielder.
Anyway,
and
right,
less
are we
than
going to
100 million.
talk on?
We went off. No, we're not going to talk about
Off
Tottenham.
piece.
I wanted to talk about the Liverpool Arsenal game, and we went off on a massive tangent about. I don't know.
That was good. I like that.
It started with Ramos and went into. Listen, let's start with that. Let's start with that, Dave. So we're all watching the game right at half time, and then you just see. Well, I think it was Andy Robertson who's run up to it was Robertson, right? He's run up to the linesman. The linesman's I don't know if it was that, but it was very much a, what did we make of that? What does everyone make of that? Is that just like a passing in
For
the
me-
night and forget it, or does this need to be actioned?
No, well,
The rest
it
been
needs to be
suspended, right?
actioned. It needs to be actioned, yeah, because he has made contact with Robertson's jaw. But for me, Robertson's gone to grab his arm, and the linesman just said, "Don't touch me," kind of thing, "Get off me," kind of thing. But it's hit him in the mouth. I don't think there's intention for him to actually do Andy Robertson. I think he was like, get away from me kind of thing, which is fair enough because Robertson shouldn't be in his space anyway. But they're going to have to do something about it because of the Mitrovic thing. Because so much was done about the Mitrovic manhandling the referee.
Yeah.
Now it's the other way around. Everyone's got their daggers out. They're going to have to do something about it. I think it's a whole load of nonsense, really. A lot of been made out of nothing for me, really. You shouldn't be approaching the referee or the linesman like that anyway. But yeah, they're going to have to throw the book at him.
Does anyone think it should go unpunished? Does anyone think like it was kind of like the players have got to stop crowding around the
you know
officials?
What, right? So the way I see it is, firstly, what Robertson did was he was a human being. Sometimes we react badly, right? And I get they're paid more, so they shouldn't. But sometimes players will react a certain way, right? Same way as a human being. If I was out now, I might sometimes react the way I shouldn't react. Now, if I react the way I shouldn't react, I will get punishment.
Mm-hmm.
If the policeman oversteps his mark when he is supposed to be controlling the situation, and if he oversteps what he should be doing, he would also get punished. So I think ultimately what's happened right. Robertson got what he deserved, and I believe the referee's been suspended. That's it. Now, the thing is, the Mitrovic one, for me, there was more aggression in what Mitrovic did. Mitrovic looked like 2 more seconds, he's going to blow up and start doing a Joey Barton in the last day against City, headbutting people and all sorts. So but I also think the Mitrovic one, 8 games was a bit too much. So I don't know.
Let me ask that. I mean, Kaz, let me ask you, was what the Lino did, and I'm sorry, I'm always going to call them Linos, was what the Lino did worse than what Mitrovic did because of his position of authority, or was it the same or not as bad? What do you reckon?
Robert, you should have done it harder, if anything. I'm not even joking.
Liverpool player.
No, but Robertson, you can clearly see he didn't know where Robertson was. He wasn't looking. Robertson touched him, put his hands around his arm, and he's obviously went to shrug him off. And he's just Lino's a little bit taller than Robertson, and he just got hit he got elbowed in his mouth, and it didn't seem like it was loads. He wasn't bleeding or nothing. Making a meal out of it and everything. Robert's just a bitch.
Well, that ties in nicely.
And if anything, then I think Robertson, if the Linos get suspended, then so should Robertson.
Well, that ties in nicely with Phil P, who's asked the question: should more people be elbowing Robertson? I mean, look, Kaz, listen, a lot of me tends to agree. I feel like it was one of those ones where he shrugged, but it's kind of gone in the wrong direction, so to speak. I don't think it was like a kind of come here, you bang. But he's gonna get punished, right? And
well,
should it be as much as Mitrovic? Should it be 8 games?
No.
Mitrovic,
See, the thing is, I don't even think Mitrovic one was even a sending off. I'll be honest. He just pushed.
The aggression in him.
Just turn them around and that, yeah. But this is what I mean about referees, and I can't stand them because they don't understand people around our age these days. When I say our age, I mean probably my age, but 26 and all them. They don't know how to. They should mic up the refs for one, and secondly, is people like even the youngers. I don't think referees these days understand personalities and what go around with it. They should have man management skills. I'm not saying Mitrovic should do it. But I just feel like the referees don't command respect properly, anyways.
But see, you can't do that though.
I saw this one situation in rugby one time that made me realise, and it was the way the referee controlled it. He said the player came over, and I have this situation sometimes where people say you're acting aggressively, and I said no. You need to understand the difference between aggression and frustration, right? And the way this rugby referee handled it.
Oh, I remember the Australian
The player came over. And the ref said, calm down for 1 second. Give me one chance to explain myself. If you don't understand my explanation, we'll then cross that bridge. But just give me a chance, please. He explained himself, and the player goes, okay, fair enough, right? Whereas I don't believe football referees come with that. They come with, shut up, I don't have to explain myself to you.
Do you think
gestures.
Is that born, though? Is that born from the fact that lots of footballers have absolutely zero respect? Like, let's be fair. I'm going to call out Man United here. Man United players are the worst. As soon as a decision is made, Bruno Fernandes is like a ringleader, getting all his troops round.
But every team has that. Your team does it a lot with Richarlison. That he bitches 24/7 because he can't even get a goal.
Richarlison doesn't play that much. So
I know, but he still does it. Everyone has them sort of players. Chelsea have.
Because we wish we had that fight in our players, though.
Arsenal every team's got that sort of player. But what I'm trying to
get is get punished for it.
I think if we're going to talk about referees here, I think we'll use this.
In them all.
No. But regardless of what we think specifically on it, it has to be condemned, because you've got to bear in mind is that football is watched by everyone, and there has to be a precedent set when it comes to it, because what happens is if situations like the Mitrovic situation are allowed, then kids are doing it at a lower age, and that's it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what we think, that unfortunately, regardless of our personal, I get what you're saying, Kaz, but it can't be.
Yeah, but I feel like all money goes out. I think money when you play football, if you're being paid for football or not, all that just goes out the window when you're playing football. I'll be honest, you don't even think about what your payment at the end. Like when I was getting £200, I was getting £200 a game just playing pro football back in.
I'm not judging the play. I'm not judging the players' reaction, by the way. But that's regardless of it. I think that I get your point. When you're frustrated,
how can you expect a referee that when they're using even VAR to use that for the decision, they're using VAR to ref the games for them because they're incapable of making a decision.
But that's a different argument, and that's the argument I was just about to jump in a bit too early. That's a different argument, though. Regardless of it, you can't do that. With the referee situation, there needs to be better communication from referees to players, and there needs to be better communication from referees to fans and stuff.
So, Perchy, let me ask you a
I'll
question.
tell you something. I spoke to a Fulham fan. I've got my mate who's a Fulham fan, and I said to him, Alexander Mitrovic against Chris Kavanagh at Old Trafford, what do you think? And he said the bastard let us down. He said, have you noticed Fulham have lost all 4 games since he got sent off? They should have won at Old Trafford for 70 minutes at Old Trafford. Fulham dominated Manchester United. Mitrovic did that. They're down to 9. Manchester United get a semi-final against Brighton. Right?
Actually, technically, no. Willian did.
Hang on. And from that minute, Fulham have lost. My view on this referee business at the weekend, 2 grown men acting like children who should know better. Same with Mitrovic. And if we're going to get to the point where everything a referee does is wrong and everything a player does is right, then we're going to lose the game, right? Where a referee is going to come through to want to actually referee a game. So, I mean, if you look at the women's game, it does not happen in the women's game. Is it testosterone and adrenaline mixing to get 100%. Stupidity or what? It's blokes, it's men. Males are the problem all the time.
This is what I said. I was going to say there needs to be a lot. I think there needs to be more women referees.
You're the problem.
Do you know what? Sorry, can I just say something? Why that's probably true, real quick. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast last night, right?
I know exactly.
And he was talking about shootings in America, like school shootings, right? And none of them have ever been by a female until a recent one where it was a female that had the chemicals to make her into a man. And that kind of tells you testosterone is the issue. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I did not think we'd be talking about this.
I said that.
Welcome to Fox News.
I think the referees should have an assistant when it comes to explaining stuff. I think the referees should have like when there's police officers, there's usually a female and a male typically, because when it talks to men, women naturally calm down men when it comes to that soft tones and everything. It's all proven. I think there should be more female referees in the game, especially when they can come and assist the ref in explaining and talking properly. I'm not saying all females can do it, because men can do it as well, but more time or less.
I actually think you're bang on here, by the way. I actually genuinely think you're bang on, because I'll tell you what, I don't think it would happen if it was a female ref.
You think Mitrovic would put his hand on a female referee? He's going to think twice about that.
I genuinely think you're bang on.
Good ref, bad ref.
Yeah, basically, I think you could do something like that. I think that could be the bad ref.
Good ref,
the English
bad
game
ref.
needs to get English.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
We need to get mic'd up.
Last thing on the referees. Would it help if the referees went to the changing rooms before the game and walked in, got the captain, stood up with the captain, and spoke to all the players and said, right, just so you know, anyone who crowds around me after a decision, you will be getting a yellow. right?
there isn't.
Laying down.
No, there's
No,
a rule.
because footballers have got the memory span of a goldfish.
But
So he goes and he talks.
testosterone.
5 minutes later,
they should know
these
that
dumb
anyway. They should know
footballers
that
have
anyway.
forgotten
No,
everything.
hang on.
Dad, there is a rule.
Hang on. Let me finish. I know they should know that, and we all know that. But my point is refs aren't being respected, right? Yeah. I saw a game the other day. I can't remember what it was. But the moment a player walked
Spurs?
up, and you could see, no, it wasn't Spurs. No, our players aren't that committed. Right?
Yeah.
And the player walked up to the ref, and you could see the ref say, like, if you say anything, I'm getting you the card. And the player went and walked off.
It's
and
a
I'm
new
just
rule,
thinking,
Sab. There's a new rule recently with City. 2 players were round the referee. The third player, I believe it's if the third player approaches, the referee can give. And the third player from City didn't come over half as aggressively as the other 2, but got a yellow, because there is a rule now that the third player that approaches the referee, from that point, cards can be issued.
Unless they play for Man United.
fair enough.
What do
fair
you
enough.
mean? We get red cards more than all your clubs put together. But unjustified ones as well.
Not for that.
Unjustified ones as well. So there we go then.
I think the
Who
key
does this
word
guy
here
even
is
support? He's probably an Arsenal fan with a BBB shirt.
I am an
isn't it?
Arsenal fan.
Yeah, it
I am
makes
an
sense,
Arsenal
man.
fan.
Guys,
I was going to
weird.
say, I think the key
We're the only ones
key
who
word
get
here
punished
is
for crowding the
consistency. I think
Yeah.
there's not the
You're the only one that moans
consistency in
about referees,
refereeing
pretty
is the
much.
problem.
Hang on, sorry. 2 people are talking at once, man. I couldn't hear a word of anyone was saying there. Look, let me move it on. Let me move it on to the Liverpool Arsenal game, right? I'm going to put it out there. I said before the game that I didn't think Arsenal would win because I don't think they're ready to win a title. I don't think they've got the experience and the know-how how to cope with winning a title. Now, I'm not just saying this one game is going to determine that, but I do think for me, guys, and people can disagree, I thought it was a huge indicator of where this Arsenal team is actually at. And the fact they were 2-0 up with 35 minutes gone, and then managed to make Liverpool look like the Liverpool of a couple of years ago when they battered the league, I thought said a lot to me about Arsenal not being ready to win it. Now that might come back to bite me.
City didn't win there either.
No. I'm not saying they did win there,
We played
but
there
for
in
me,
like October, bro. It's not business end.
I know, but we were saying the same thing about like City not ready to win the league from back then. Now all of a sudden it's changed. Every time Arsenal drop points, they go on a mad run. What's any different? They ain't won at the Mersey.
It's not about the game.
They ain't won in the Mersey even against Everton in like 6 years, and
fact
Liverpool
of
put
how it
together.
impacts their season.
Yeah, maybe, but they're lucky to not walk away with a point anyway.
Bro, you were giving up at half time.
Yeah, I don't mind that, but at least we won a trophy this year. Can't say the same for yourselves, can you, boys? Oh, cool.
hang on. Can we keep this on track? Right. So my point was this: that it's about, like you said there, Daps. It's the business end of the season. This for me was a marker when Arsenal went 2-0 up. In every WhatsApp group I was in, it was like title over. Arsenal had done it. I can't believe they've done it. Half an hour later, 45 minutes later, everyone's going, "Oh, Arsenal aren't ready to win this league." Did that game have any determination on this at all? Was this a defining moment, or was this just a good Liverpool fight back? Where are we all at with this?
Devo first. It's the Arsenal fan, right?
For me, I understand where you're coming from, Savva, because when we were 2-0 up, the pessimist in me was thinking, how are we going to fuck this up? And then the whole Xhaka Trent thing happened. As soon as that happened, I said, we do not need you getting involved in that. The crowd got fuck it. Anfield came alive, and I was like, we're in trouble here. And the goal just before half time just kind of cemented that. But what I felt was going to happen in the second half was that we were going to get battered and actually end up losing the game. So in the end, I would have taken a point beforehand. Any Arsenal fan who understands what Anfield is and what our record is at Anfield would have taken a point before the game. But then you look at the game and you have to kind of analyse the game as a whole. We should have walked away from there with 3 points. You can't be 2-0 up against anyone, really, in the title race and give away 2 goals the way we did. The fact that we could have actually lost that game as well means that the point turned out to be a good point. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's looking at Aaron Ramsdale.
Is that the official line you're going with? This was a good point.
It's 2 points.
I don't think it's a good point.
When you analyse the game, and what actually happened over 90 minutes, that's a good point because we could have easily lost that game, quite easily. The 3 Ramsdale saves, which 2 of them he had no right to save, the penalty miss, all of that stuff. Football's about narratives, right? We could have quite easily lost that game handsomely, and then we're out of the title race. No questions asked. But that draw still means that obviously we've got to go to City. Everyone expects we're going to get beat at City, which is fair enough because our record there is terrible. But we also, the only other game really that I would worry about as an Arsenal fan is Newcastle away.
Yeah,
that's it.
Do you know what?
And
do you know what? This is the thing. You're right, and Arsenal have earned the fact that now, for me, I've been saying this, even at the point where I was saying the best Man City can still win this league, but we have to be the best Manchester City. Arsenal have earned the right that I look at it and I looked at Liverpool away, the Etihad, and St James's Park. When I'm hearing, Palace at home, Leeds at home, Chelsea at home, I'm like, shut up. They're wins, right? The Etihad, for me, when Arsenal fans are looking at the Etihad going, we'll still get something there. For me, you're still being too naive. You're not getting a sniff at the Etihad, right? What they should be looking at is the fact that we also have to go to Brentford away on the last day of the season, Brighton away, Everton away, who are facing relegation, Fulham away. We have some tough away games, right? And that is the test on City. Can we beat Arsenal at the Etihad? We've beat you 14 out of the last 15 times. You've only beat us in the FA Cup. We've beat you twice this season. The narrative was, you know what, we're happy you knocked us out the FA Cup because we've proven how good we were against you. And when we take you to the Emirates, no, right? You're getting nothing. But if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm looking at these away games. They're the tests on City, the away games against teams fighting relegation. So it's not overdone, but I just think mentally now, it's just another scar in this young Arsenal team. Zinchenko brings you a mentality, right? He was on the bench crying.
You're spot on there. You're bang on there.
Okay, so from that, does anyone have any? You're on mute, Devo. If you were trying to respond,
I was just saying. Obviously, Zinchenko was crying because he knew he made that mistake and he should have cut that Trent cross out. There's no way he should have got beat there. But he's crying because he's passionate about the game. Obviously, he realizes how big a goal that is. I don't think that's an indication of anything. I think people are trying to make it out.
It's an indication that he knows because he's been round this City team business end of the season.
Yeah. Does anyone? Let me ask you all then. Does anyone think, first of all, can Arsenal go to Man City and win? And second of all, was that the moment at the weekend that Man City won the league? I mean, am I jumping the gun? I think they're going to win it.
No chance I'm seeing them go to City and getting a win. No chance.
Bro, I'm more scared of Everton away than I am Arsenal at home.
So
I don't see Arsenal winning at Manchester City. It's not done yet. No. You can't say it's done because City have got a much more congested fixture list than Arsenal have, right?
But is that a bad thing, Dave? I don't think. I think.
Well, I don't. You know what? The point that you made earlier, Savva. There's no better training than playing matches. You know, in the old days, when Forest were winning European Cups, Cloughy stopped them training between matches, and it served them better than doing training sessions. You know what I mean?
But so Dave, this is my point. When people say things like so-and-so is going to be playing once a week, I think if you do that all season, cool, because you're in the rhythm. Yeah. But I think footballers, the one thing they don't want, especially if you lose or draw a game, the one thing you don't want to do is wait 7. Let's assume you play on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And your next game isn't until the following Monday night.
Yeah.
I don't think footballers want to wait 9 days because then
they want to get back on the horse. They want to get back on the horse, Savva, straight away. I mean, like I say, to go back to my point, I cannot see Arsenal winning at the Etihad. I think they'll push City, but I think Arsenal have overachieved to be where they are. I agree. I don't think any of us for 1 minute saw Arsenal winning the title or being even in the shake-up. I thought it was going to be Liverpool and City. That's what I thought. Yeah. So I think Arsenal have done fantastic. I think this is a great sight for Arsenal moving forward. I don't think it's done.
Anyways, man. I think they still win the league. I think I just see City dropping a point, just 1 point against Brighton or
all I would say about
Brentford.
City is
just one of them odd fixtures that they got to think and they got to rotate because they got Real Madrid. They just spanked Bayern. They got to go Real Madrid. They might have to rotate their side just a little bit. Just not too much.
We used to this. We had to do that last season. This is a thing.
And
Cass, you are right that is, and this is a thing. This is where it's now over to us because I've said all season we have to be the best City. it is now handed to us where if we are the best City, and like at the weekend, when I was on the way down to London, I rang Steve. He was on the way to Southampton. I said, "How are you feeling?" He said, "Do you know what, mate? Yeah, I think we got too much for him." I said, "This is the thing. It's got to the point now where these are games that me as a City fan, pessimistic one, will look at these games and go difficult. But if we are the Man City that I think we are, which we're starting to show we are, the difficult games we just get done by any means. And it will go on till the end because we have Brentford away, last game of the season. It's not an easy game.
Yeah, I think Arsenal beat. They could. The thing is, you do realize Arsenal can't afford to draw at City as well. If they do a draw,
but they're not going to draw, bro.
But it might. That's what I'm saying. But if they do draw, it would be enough to get over the line. They don't have to win that game.
But Kaz, where you're saying
if they win, considering
where you're saying City might drop a point somewhere, a couple of points somewhere with a silly draw, are we just assuming then that other than the Man City game, that Arsenal are just going to go and win all their games?
Have you seen
again?
Arsenal's fixtures? I'm telling you. Do you know who they got next?
At this point of the season, right? What it's really about is the pressure. Because remember the first time we won the league, right? We had 7 games left. You were 8 points ahead of us, right? And our chairman came in and said, "There's no pressure now." So, when Arsenal came back against Bournemouth to win 3-2, I said to someone, "Do you know what?" Because we have Palace, I think, the next week. I said, "We probably need this because we need pressure. If there's no pressure, we'll go and fuck up against Palace, right?" And this is the thing that weird things are going to happen. I don't know. I can't tell you where. I can't tell you what. Right?
I just can't see it.
To Leicester, for example, but then Arsenal will then think it's ours, and then go and drop points again. So there are swings in it, but for me, it's now City's to lose, whereas it was Arsenal's to lose.
In a way, yeah.
I've got to make up 6 points, though, mate.
I was going to say, do you know what I think could be also important? It's when games are played, like City playing before Arsenal. I think things like that are going to be so telling because if Man City, I can't remember who you've got next, but I know that Arsenal got Leicester. So you go and beat Leicester. You go and beat Leicester. You go and beat Leicester. And then Arsenal got to go to the London Stadium, and it's like I think Arsenal will go and win there. By the way,
but they turn them over.
But you see, my point is, it's going to get to a stage where Man City if Man City are playing before Arsenal for whatever reason, or the other way round, things like that are going to make such a difference.
Don't Arsenal have Forest at Forest?
Second last game of the season.
Forest is shit.
Home game.
And Forest's ground.
That's very deep and perceptive.
It is a fortress, right?
Obviously written a thesis on the subject there.
But look, my point is this:
Forest are arse and cheap, bro.
I know Forest is shit, but I don't need to be told.
Guys,
can I ask a question as I go? Where's Awoniyi? Awoniyi, or how do you say his name? By the way,
Awoniyi.
Yeah. Where is he?
He's been injured, mate. He got injured at Southampton when we won at Southampton. The only win we've had away from home. So he's come on as sub in the last 2 games, but we're not good enough. We're going down.
I just can't see
if Manchester United do not win at the weekend, it'd be the biggest miracle in football. All right. You should come to us, Casa, and you should absolutely obliterate us. You should suck all the water out of the River Trent, mate. You're that much better than us, right? But, you should dredge the River Trent, you know what I mean? But if you don't, just imagine Manchester United losing to tiny Nottingham Forest. Just imagine that.
Do you remember tiny little Nottingham Forest losing 3-0 to our B team? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And
do you know what? I stood there and I thought to myself, somebody said to me on all 3 occasions we played you this year, what do you think? I said Manchester United win all of them because Manchester United are about 10 levels above Nottingham Forest. One thing I will not do is overestimate my club. We are the worst team in the division.
No.
We're the weakest.
You said something. You beat Southampton away, and it says everything.
Actually, you were a fan when we were doing.
I have said to Potsy. I tell you what, though.
Yeah.
I have said to Potsy, if Arsenal win the league at the City ground, he might have a job getting out of Nottingham alive because we've got special gangs posted on the borders of the city. You know what I mean? So
I can't see though where Man City drop points. Like the thing is, when people talk about
Maybe
we
Brighton
do this.
away.
Hang on, we do this a lot in football, right? Where we say things like, "Oh yeah, but Man City dropped a point at Nottingham Forest, or Brentford beat them at Man City." But the difference is, this is the business end of the season.
Yeah.
This is the time where
I
Pep's
don't want to be
telling
playing
them.
Forest either.
Hang on. But this is the time. This is the time when Pep's telling them, "Yeah, there's no complacency here. Go out and get it done." And I think a lot of the time, I said at the beginning of the season, it felt like, I've said this loads of times, I felt like Pep was playing football manager with himself. He was tinkering with different plans, different ideas.
He always does it every season.
Lots of the top players were sitting on the bench when you're thinking, what are you doing? Since he's gone back to tried and tested, Man City have, what is it, 12 now unbeaten? Batter. I think I just saw a stat that they've scored 20.
You know what it is, Sav?
20.
What he did as well is it was round the time we played you twice. That was a period where Pep was really testing the resolve in some of these players that have been here for several years. And he was dropping them, going, do you know what? I don't know if you've got what it takes to go again. And he did it at the right stage, because I had someone say, "Oh, Calvin Phillips needs more game time." And I said, no, Calvin Phillips should have got himself fit and got game time when he got back from the World Cup. You don't give players game time in April, right? That's not what you do.
Pep
Can't afford to do that. Like,
Pep is
He gets his fitness with England, he does.
Pep's a madman, yeah. Let me tell you now, yeah. He found his formula when he decided, I don't need fullbacks no more. Forget this attacking fullback crap.
It's a Forest game when we drew 1-1.
He said, forget this fullback crap. I'm going to play 4 centre-backs. And now you can't really counter-attack me because I've got defenders and the rest just
Tony Pulis did it first.
So I think when it comes to the sort of,
a legend, by the way.
Go on, Perche.
That's the best shout of the night.
I was just going to say, just on this thing, the difference with Arsenal and Man City at the moment, one manager is relentless and has done it all he's done it for a decade. And Arteta, this is the first time Arsenal are now in a situation where the drawing games, you're forgetting
one thing. You're forgetting one thing, though. Sorry to cut you. Arteta was with Pep doing all this stuff as well, and he's the reason why he got rid of a few big names as well.
No, okay, I get that, but my point being here is, when before you'd go, oh, you play bad and you get a point. You can't do that now with this Man City team. Points are as bad on the level of losing games, because City get to the stage where they're just relentless. You use examples when they were battling with Liverpool, and they were both at stages when they were on 90+ points, and Liverpool were losing the title on 94 points or whatever it was. It was crazy. So it's with this Man City team, it is relentless, and they get into a stage where they just win.
And this is the thing. What people do is they'll look at fixtures and try and work out how they go, or they'll look at points and they'll try and work out points. And this even goes to how right now generally the league is won in the late 90s or mid 90s, whereas back 10 years ago it's the 80s. But what it actually is it's not about the games and the point. It's about the pressure and what you need. And I just feel like I've said this before. It's getting it done. I don't know what getting it done. When you don't know what something looks like, it doesn't mean you win. It just means you do that little bit more than the person that's second by any means. Where
if you look at it, Daps, this is now 17 games for City and 1 defeat in that time, which was at Spurs, right? And 9 wins on the bounce, right? 9 wins on the bounce.
Is that Spurs props from you, Sav?
No, because I think Spurs are shit, right?
I thought you'd ask.
Look, you don't even want to crack us. You don't even want to crack a smile, man.
Look. Let me make the point. Point of this is, in those 9 games that Man City have won, here's the difference between Arsenal and Man City for me. This is the difference. They've banged in 3 against Bayern, 4 against Southampton, 4 against Liverpool, 6 v Burnley, 7 v Leipzig, 3 versus Bristol City, 4 versus Bournemouth, 3 against Arsenal, 3 against Villa. We're not talking about they're going out there and scraping wins. We're talking about they're going out there and they don't ever look like even from the first minute today, I watch City and I think they're winning this. They just,
Juggernaut.
it's that arrogance, the good arrogance, the confidence, and the thing is, yeah, 6 points is a big gap in theory, but the game in hand, City will win, and the other 3 points comes from the game at the Etihad.
I think you're doing too much. I can't lie. I can't just sit here and just have this all City prop. You are underrating Arsenal to a massive degree. They have proven time and time again. I think you're basing this off feelings because you don't want them to win the league, so you're not going to give them the prop. Time and time again, Arsenal
basing this off history.
No, because you don't want them to win. That's why.
No. Then debate that.
No, I am doing this because you are a typical Spurs fan. So let me ask you this then. Arsenal.
That is disrespectful.
No,
whoa, Kaz, you need to get to know me better. If you think that's the case,
he's a typical Spurs fan. Levy out, Conte out. I've heard it all before. Anyways,
are any of us typical of anything, really?
Hang on.
He's a rival's wet dream, bro. Like, I love it when he talks shit on Spurs. Anyways, it's not a point. It's not a point.
I'll tell you what.
I'm just playing with you.
What I did to Grizz, I will do to you right now and bury you.
You're taking pride in taking someone that was probably a little bit emotional due to some things and taking pride in that.
Hang on. Let's get this right. Let's get this right.
You can't do anything. I'm the shameless one in this whole panel, by the way. Good luck.
Right. Hang on. Let me get this right.
You're right. Shit out.
Hang on. Let me get this right. Right. First and foremost, if anyone knows me, which some of you in this panel know me very well, to call me a typical Spurs fan when most of the Spurs fan base tell me I'm not a Spurs fan because I tell the truth.
Oh no, you're Spurs. A Spurs fan. I'll be the same.
Right. Well, hang on. Slow yourself down. Let me finish. Slow yourself down. I'm talking. Right.
Yo,
right. I think this is nothing to do with Spurs v Arsenal. I take this off of history. I've said this all year. Perchi will tell you I've said this all year. Devo, I've said it to you even when you were like 11 points clear. I've said all along, Man City will win this league because Man City have the know-how and they have the experience. If Arsenal go on to win it, fair play to them. Props to them. They're a very good team to watch. This isn't about Spurs Arsenal. This is about Man City. You can do that noise all you want. Man City know how to get the job done.
I like that one.
Wait, shall we leave, guys? I think
hey, I'm here for all this.
I thought I was going to get done like Grizz. Shit, I was. Hang
on. This is. I will never be told I'm a typical Spurs fan. This is nothing to do with Tottenham Hotspur.
All right, I think I'm only playing you. You don't need to get your heads up. But what's it called?
No, listen, I'm cool.
What it is, I want to balance it a little bit because there's a lot of City this, City that, and not a lot of Arsenal this or Arsenal that. So, anyways, let's talk a bit of ball. Yeah, Arsenal have gone through feats this season. That's the season back to Arsenal themselves. To be fair, so he's been not one-sided with it all.
Hold on, I will, but I've never stopped so. In the league.
Yeah, of course not. But you have been props to Arsenal because Arsenal have 100%. lost to Manchester United 3-1. This is the fault of Arsenal now. Then they dropped points against another team. I can't remember who it was. They must have done a draw or something like that. Southampton. This is it. This is going to be the crumble of Arsenal. Then they dropped some more points. I think it's in a February period where they didn't play so well, but they got through a lot of the games. A lot of late-minute winners, a lot of clutch times. You know, they see it through. But yet, you know, this is the end of Arsenal. They get to this point. I'm not going to lie. You could even put City up against that Liverpool team on Sunday. City probably not winning that.
Oh, City are winning that 5-0, mate.
But they don't win. No, because even that, they don't win. No, but that's how I felt when he was bantering teams.
But just quickly, Cass, this is the key.
You get it? You get one point.
It depends when it is. Like, for me, and this is what I was saying before, that people can look at certain fixtures, look at maths and do all of that. It's about when it is. When City had to play Liverpool in a key time a couple of years ago, in January we were third and had to win, we win. It's not who you're playing. And this is why I kind of look at the fact we do have to face 4 hard away games. If we face those away games between August and January, or even probably March, there's a good chance we might drop points. But Man City in the business end of the season,
exactly.
Get it done.
I think Arsenal have overachieved to be where they are.
Yeah, no, of course they have.
Arsenal being here.
Of course they have.
I think Arsenal's season if it stopped now, Arsenal's season is a success.
It's a
If
bottle
the
job.
City stops now, if City's season stops now, it's not a success. I think
Yeah.
Arsenal. I think Arsenal actually are ahead of where their curve should be.
I agree.
Massively.
That's
Yeah,
what
but
I
I
think.
hear the part about
And
experience.
that's why
But
I think City
sometimes
will pip them in the end. I don't think City are going to romp away from Arsenal, and I think Arsenal will stay in the race. But I just think they'll just have that. Little bit too
There
much
isn't,
for it.
Dave. There isn't time for them to romp away. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it'll go
I'm
to the
not
last game of the season. in my
I'm
opinion.
not saying that
But-
at all. What I'm
but we're
saying
not-
is
you're based
Man
off
City
experience.
people. Yeah, but I've got people in the chat saying experience doesn't matter and history doesn't matter. Of
No, it
course
doesn't.
it does.
No
The
doubt.
winning
It does.
mentality. When you go into that changing room, right? There are going to be how many? Whoever
They've all done
they
it
play.
before.
How
but-
many? Hang on. Jeez. How many Man City players, when you go into that changing room, let's say the last day of the season, it's Man City neck and neck with Liverpool and they have to win for goal difference. How many people you looking around in the changing room at Man City that have gone, won it,
Yeah.
115, 112 things, 110 things.
Yeah.
Then you're looking around the Arsenal changing room and it's a younger changing room. It's a less experienced. Even as a manager, yes, Arteta was winning it with Pep, but he's not Pep. So for me, I'm not saying Arsenal can't win it. I just don't think they will because I think experience will get them over the line. However,
Agreed.
I've said, Devo, I've said this all season.
Mhm.
Whoever gets the result at the Etihad for me wins the league. If Arsenal can come away from there with a draw, I think Arsenal win the league. But City, I think, will have so much. I just watched Liverpool have 21 attempts at goal versus Arsenal. That's a very disjointed Liverpool team. The Man City I saw tonight will have
I
a
personally
shed
don't
load.
think even Man City go there. All they need to do is the same
Kaz,
thing, counter attack against them.
Kaz,
in my
what happened
opinion.
a couple of weeks? Kaz, what happened a couple of weeks ago? Man City tore them apart.
Yeah, but that's
4-1.
no, that was at the Etihad though. At Anfield's a different game because if
I don't
Liverpool went
think it
to
makes
when
any
Liverpool went to the
difference.
Emirates, it's one of those things as well. It was a great game. It is what it is. It was a close game. It was 3-2, separated by a penalty, whatever. Like I just don't think City would have won it at there either, Liverpool, because Liverpool have this
We would have
flipping
if we had to.
weird sensation in their head. But when it comes to a bigger sided game, not Chelsea, they're not a big game. It like one of their rivals or so close rivals or whatever you want to call it, they just want to be up for it. They always score against Arsenal. It's like some teams you just have that bogey period of it. The thing is, with Arsenal, you forget. You talk about experience as well. Thomas Partey's he's the what's it called? He's the captain for Ghana. Erdegaard is the captain for his country. Zinchenko is a proven winner. Jesus a proven winner. Oh, Zinchenko is also a leader, as he's the captain of Ukraine. There's so many leaders in different parts in their squad. People just forget about that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
quick,
but
this
not
is a
Premier
big
League, not
game.
Premier League
Tell me
winning.
a big game.
Yeah, they
A
have
big
won
game.
it. No.
Tell me who in a big game. Tell me who stepped up for Arsenal in a big game
This
Reece
season.
Nelson.
Yeah, now
But
I
people
suppose
need to
Nelson.
remember. People need to remember that
Saka
we've got
as well.
the
Like
youngest
he's
squad.
stepped up this
in
season.
big
youngest
games.
squad in the
Really
league.
stepped
Season.
up.
Jesus has just come back from injury. People forget this is
No,
like his
but-
third
no,
game
but
and
what
he's
I'm
performing
saying
like that.
and this is the thing. When De Bruyne got player of the season last season, it was him and Salah and Son. The difference was that in the last 12, 13, 14 games, De Bruyne stepped up in the business end of the season in big games. And even that goal today from Rodri, I was thinking, I can't see anyone in Arsenal scoring an important goal like that. And this isn't me knocking Arsenal because a player will step up eventually, but they're not there yet. They're just not there yet. Otherwise, they would have done, by any means, they would have got that win against Liverpool.
But Daps, can I just say something, right? What I don't think is if Arsenal don't win this league, I'm not one of these football fans that uses the word bottle because
definitely
I
It is a
think
goal, though.
I don't think it's a bottle. I think if
have to, though.
hang on, Jesus Christ. If Arsenal don't win, we were saying, right, that for Arsenal to win this league, then that they'd have to match City and win every game to the end of the season. I don't think Arsenal are there yet as a team. If Arsenal finish second in this league, I think they've had a fantastic season, considering that they weren't. Hang on.
Bollocks.
Kaz, you've got to let someone finish their point, man. Otherwise, it's infuriating. This is an Arsenal
Wait, is
team.
this fucking Terry Flu's FC, bro? The fuck?
Jesus Christ. This is an
hell.
Arsenal team that at the beginning of the season, not one bookies had them as top 4 favourites. So if this Arsenal team finishes second and maybe a point or goal difference behind City, how can we turn around and gone they've bottled and flopped it? That's a great year for them. from
Yeah.
fifth.
It's
And
about
also,
perspective.
I
It's about
don't
perspective,
get the
isn't it?
narrative.
Context is huge.
Context,
I
yeah,
also
'cause-
don't get this narrative that in the transfer, I keep hearing whenever there's a big, like Bellingham as an example, people go, oh no, Arsenal won't get involved in that. And for me, it's like, right, that's because what you're doing is you're looking at Arsenal during the period after they were invincible, while they're paying off a stadium, that they were very cautious, right? Then they dropped to a position where they were in a position where they could not get the elite players, right? So they were going for expensive players, spending a lot of money, which they have done, but not getting the elite players because, quite simply, they weren't in the Champions League. Now Arsenal have paid off the stadium. They're now back to being towards, like, whether they win it or come second, they're in the Champions League. They're one of the biggest clubs in English football, in world football. And we know they're willing to spend money because they have done. So this narrative that Arsenal won't spend in the summer and go again, I think that's also wrong. I think they just need to be, I think even in January, maybe their board were a little bit naive, thinking they could compete with Chelsea, who are shameless in the transfer window. And also, if you take one player off of Brighton, you can't then go and try and take another midfielder and expect that they're not going to put the price up, right? But I think Arsenal go again next season. With this manager, they're going to keep... Arsenal are back, ultimately.
Right.
They'll
only keep improving Arsenal, I think.
You have to look
Honestly,
at it.
I think
project.
City. The way I look at it, City and Arsenal are both excellent teams. They're by far the two best teams. But I just think one is the finished article, and the other is a really, really good work in progress.
I agree.
If I was an Arsenal fan, after
Yeah.
this last 10 years where they've done basically sod all apart from the odd FA Cup.
So why is it going to be seen as bottling or a bad year if they don't win the league?
It's a
Not by me,
by me it is because you change objectives during the season. Yeah, the objectives were for them. They wanted the Europa League. They bottled that. Sorry, that is a bottle job. You had the advantage over Sporting. They had players missing. We just called it for what it is. They just bottled it. They just bottled it against Liverpool.
Winning.
No, but
So
they
you're
did
giving
bottle
no
it
credit
against
to the teams
Europa.
that beat
They bottled it against
What?
Europa because objectives. They were claiming fans as well. There's a lot of this is big part is on the fans. They said they're going to win the league, so we're expecting that. Things change. If Man United don't win now, in my opinion, a Europa League or FA Cup and finish top four, that's a bottle job season.
Can I ask why is this word bottle job coming to football?
Because
why is it every
can't
time?
accept defeat.
Hang on, why is it every time, right? A team loses a game,
Word.
right? Every time a team loses a game, we say they've bottled it. Doesn't it just sometimes mean that the other team has done really well?
Like you would be used to this though, wouldn't you? Because you're a Tottenham fan. You know what I mean?
You can keep throwing the Tottenham thing, but
You're
it's
used to
childish.
bottle.
Can I buy some tickets to Cass v Savva pay-per-view?
You talk so slow, bro. Like I'm trying to every time I do try to get in, I feel like you kind of stop. That's why I do kind of jump the gun.
Yeah, listen, the difference between me and Kaz is a football fan that wants to he wants to see me as only a Spurs fan, whereas I can talk about football from a broader perspective. He can only dig at me about Tottenham. The problem is, Daps, as a Spurs fan, I dig Tottenham out. So digging Tottenham out for me, it's like that whole Eminem thing.
I can't.
Well, listen, you can, of course you can, but the point is this:
no, laugh, but
not,
I can't,
not everything.
Like, fuck's sake, you're just going to come and beat us again, ain't you? So
not everything is bottling. Sometimes teams are just better or sometimes teams come back, they're better on the day. I hate this. Like, if Arsenal don't win the league, and this is me sticking up for Arsenal, right, as a Spurs fan. If Arsenal finish second and get to 90 odd points, having been 2 points behind Spurs last year and finishing in fifth Europa, no one at the beginning of the season, no one would have had them for that.
Agreed.
So how can that be a bad season?
Savva, do you know what it is? Yeah, that as City fans, and it's mad because a lot of my close friends are Arsenal fans, and I used to dislike them because before City got good, they would be the type that, as we were getting good, would tell us, like, you can't get involved in football conversations, your team's shit, and all of that crap, right? But when they got Arteta, when they get Zinchenko, when they get Jesus, that are three people that at City we love, it makes us, do you know what? I kind of like the story. I like what Arteta's doing there. And it is unfortunate that some Arsenal fans just create this rivalry where now I want nothing more than to shut them up, right? But the fact is, they have had an astonishing season. I'm happy for Jesus. I'm happy for Zinchenko. I'm happy for Arteta. But they are going to end this season having the argument with Liverpool about who was the better bridesmaid to Manchester City. That's just the way it is.
Exactly, and it is a bottle, and whether you like it or not, that's subject to opinion if you like the word bottle or not. Because we was only talking on my show, or our show, should I say, that's on a thingy that we're saying the magnitude of what's on offer at the moment, which is the Premier League. If you don't get over the line, you've bottled it because you have no.
Or they're not good enough.
No,
Or Man City were better.
Or then right.
No, because all season long, don't even cut because you was agreeing as well. All season long, we've been talking about how good this Arsenal team are.
Yeah.
How amazing this team is.
I don't think anyone.
Kaz, at the start of the season, did you say Arsenal were going to win the league?
Back in December, Arsenal, we were all saying Arsenal doing way better than what they should. If they don't finish the season, like obviously getting top 4, then they really, that's just a failure, isn't it?
But I think most people acknowledged.
But it's what's on offer.
Most people acknowledge, though, that as well as Arsenal are doing, most people have been saying, but City are coming with that run.
Yeah.
Like, I think most people who have seen the Premier League for the last 5-6 years know that City are coming with that run. And in that run, they have to play Arsenal twice, right? And that
if
for
City
me was
take
where
it away from
that was me.
And
that for me was where I said, right, the gap is not true because City will beat Arsenal twice, and that's 6 points right there. So if we're saying bottled, are we saying that for them to not bottle, Arsenal had to win their last 18 games of the season?
Well, you're winning. You're winning.
Can I just say, are we saying that if City win it, we say Arsenal bottle it to devalue City's achievement? Because I think that's not happening.
No,
I agree.
If City, whoever wins the league, and leagues never lie, whoever wins it, whoever finishes top, is there on merit, not because somebody handed it to them on a plate. Right.
So when Man United was
38 games,
when Man United was
all right. If Arsenal come to Forest, second last game of the season, right, and Forest somehow produce a miracle and beat Arsenal, is that because Arsenal lost rather than Forest winning? I had all this bullshit when City came to us and we held them to a point. I watched Match of the Day that night, and it was City didn't do this, City didn't do that, City didn't do that, and they never mentioned Forest.
I hate when managers do that. I hate when managers moan about teams with less resources playing a certain style of football, because it's like, come on, man. Like if Pep ever does that, it's like, listen, you have been given this job with all the resources because of your ability to achieve. So if you can't break down a Cooper team, that's on you, not on him.
No, that day at the City Ground, Pep Guardiola at the end of that match, he could have thought to himself, I mean, we were all saying, come on, City, why aren't you beating Forest? You should be murdering us, truly obliterating us. But Pep Guardiola, and they put the question to him, are you disappointed at not beating this little team? And Pep Guardiola was full of respect for Nottingham Forest. And we all sort of said, fair enough. I watched Match of the Day that night. They weren't respectful to Forest. So if any of that little league at the bottom, the 9 at the bottom, beat any of the big 6,
but Dave, the problem is,
it's always about, like, Liverpool lost to, United lost to Brentford early in the season. United didn't do this. No, give credit to Brentford. Liverpool have lost matches. Liverpool lost to.
But Dave, it's context. Do you know what? Do you know what I found?
It's commercial context and media context. That's what it is.
Perchi will probably hate me saying this. He hears me say this every day. Context has been lost in football completely. Right?
It has.
So, for example, this comment here, which says, if you're 11 clear in March, you have to win it. Now, if we take that as a snapshot, hang on. If we take that on its own, are we saying then that at that time they both played the same amount of games, right? They both played the same amount of games, both played the same amount of home games, away games, and both played each other, and they were 11 points clear. No, they weren't. Arsenal had played more games, City had games in hand, and they still had to play each other twice. So this 11 points clear narrative in context.
It's the same last season with Liverpool.
Right. It's context. Yeah. The problem is we don't like context. We just want to say everyone's bottled it.
In
context.
So then let's take away mentality out of the game then. Then there's no such thing as mentality, because mentality, when the tough gets going, mate, and you get to the final ends of the season where it matters, when you only got one game in the season, you're 8 points clear as well. It wasn't 11. 8 by the time, and also they dropping points when you got one game. When it's such a prize on, your mentality comes into it. If you can't get over the line, sometimes sheer will gets you past games. You should
Sure.
defend as a unit.
Yeah.
Your manager instills that mentality to make sure you get
know
over
what?
the line. And
Pat,
this is
so
what-
let me ask you a
what
question,
happened
Kaz.
last
Hang on,
when
hang
Man
on. Let
United
me-
lost, when Man United lost in 11-12, when we were 7 points clear, we bottled it. Because Man United, even with all
Yeah,
that
but-
experience, we
So let me ask you a
bottled
question.
it to Everton when we were 4-1 up. And
Were
we drew 4-4 and
Arsenal
lost against Company.
okay? So with all this will in the world and mentality, Arsenal, I think if you ask anybody, right, Arsenal do not have the squad to cope with winning every single week, right? I don't think they've got the know-how to win every single week. They've not got
Not yet.
They've not yet. They've not got a manager that's been there, seen it, and done it to get them over the line. All of these things come into play. So when we're talking about mentality, who
Agreed.
honestly, at 18 games of the season, who was looking at Arsenal going, they're going to win? This isn't just Arsenal, by the way. This is Man City, Chelsea. Who is looking at any club going, they have to win all 18 games or they've bottled it? It's just not, it's not
Yeah,
normal.
agreed.
You know what? You know
It's
where this
not
comes from, though. You
normal.
know where this comes from, though. This doesn't actually come from us rivals, though. This is where it comes from. Pretty much what you're saying. The social media.
Media.
This all comes from Arsenal fans. They had the best mentality. They have the best this. They got the best squad. They got the best
I
this.
hear you.
I was arguing.
I
Oh,
hear you.
actually, Sav, you know what? Maybe
That's
this got
fair.
taken out of context. So basically, as well, when I said, like, I think it was only about a week ago when they're saying, are Arsenal like basically the best team in Europe? I'm like, okay, if they're the best team in Europe, why did they get knocked out of Europe so quick? So in my terms, I said they're not the best team in Europe. They're not in the Champions League. So anyways, for me, this narrative comes from the Arsenal fans itself. And this is why we put the pressure on it. Now, you're going to put the pressure on yourselves and your team as fan bases because we have a part to play in our clubs, you know, where we go forward as well in the stadium, which I'm there every single week pretty much, you know, to some guys in the
You're
comment.
spot on, you know, Cass.
You
You're
know,
spot on.
just because I'm
This
not
is
from a
the
certain
thing,
area,
like,
but I can't, whatever. And I do
Cass, I
support
agree
them,
with you.
by the way. So
It is-
I
anyway,
agree with you.
long story
It's the
short,
way- Do you
Go
know
on.
what? Rodri's a prime example, right? That midway through a season, all of a sudden, there's this, and I can't stand. Cass will tell you, whenever I foul during international breaks, do play comparisons. I try and dodge them because it's like compare players when they're retired, man. Like Casemiro and
Agreed.
Titan have one good season. Now you're slandering Rodri and doing all of that,
Yeah.
and it's just like stop. Or Saka and Liverpool with Trent, all this
Saka,
putting
Liverpool,
players
yeah,
on
yeah.
pedestals, right? Liverpool fans for seasons, I'm hearing every combined 11, it's like 8 Liverpool players, 3 City players. Now, our players are tired. Why? Because you went like 3 seasons. We've been 6 and we're still going, right? It's like comparing prime Fabinho when he was 27 with prime Fernandinho when he was 37, right? And now, but Fabinho's tired. Fernandinho was 37 when you wanted to compare your 27-year-old DM with him. And it's just comparisons. And do you know what? This year I've had a bit more bite, but generally, do you know what City want? We want to live in our own bubble. Forget the Twitter City lot. As fans, we want to live on our own bubble, celebrate what we do, and everyone just leave us alone. Don't compare our players. You don't care about us, no problem. Don't talk on us. Let us do what we're going to do. It's when people start slandering all these people, then it's like,
I'll tell you the thing
so.
for me, Daps. The thing for me is this. Listen, I get it, right? And the fact that I'm sticking up for Arsenal, I don't know why. Like, you know, Kaz is correct, right?
Yeah.
Hang on. Kaz is correct, right? Kaz is correct in terms of the Arsenal fans have made a rod for their own backs because everywhere you go, they're telling you we're winning it. What I will ask is, I know there's no Arsenal fans on this panel, but there are some in the chat. I will ask you this. As a Spurs fan, I'm sitting here right now saying, if you win the league, I'll be one of the first to turn around and go, you know what, fair play, you deserve it. You played really good football, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm old and ugly enough to acknowledge that. What I will say is this. If Arsenal don't win it, then all these people in the chat that are Arsenal fans saying that we're salty, if Arsenal don't win it, what is your answer then? Because you're all saying you're going to win it. If you don't, why aren't you going to win it? Is it because City are better?
Round
Is it
envelopes.
because you've bottled it? Is it because City are better? Or is it because you're not ready yet? Which is what I'm going with. If they win it, brilliant. I just don't think they're ready.
No.
I could be wrong. We're all wrong at times, right? But I'd love to know from the Arsenal fans in the chat. Any Arsenal fans, are you going to win it?
But bro, what you just said was constructive and fair.
Yeah, but
right?
people don't like that.
But no,
Oh no.
I sometimes will say 95% good about Arsenal. If you say 5%, they'll just react to that, right? And you can sing all their praises, but Arsenal are just there. Look, I will say about Champions League, I keep saying I don't know if we're ready yet. It's fine to be building something, but rivalry in it. That's why we're on YouTube.
Yeah, I feel the same about Derby County supporters.
I can say that Derby was not
They might get playoffs.
enough.
Maybe.
I think-
Depends what Peterborough do.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, Sam. You're going to end up getting called an Arsenal fan by the Spurs community. So it's fine.
But why? Listen, do you know what?
No,
what
I
think?
agree with you. By the way,
Hats-
everything you said.
Hats off to Arsenal. We finished 2 points above them, right? And now this is where I'm going to call out Spurs fans. In the summer, all the Spurs fans I was YouTubing with, everyone coming into my shows during the summer were telling me 3 things. Right? These are the 3 things I was being told. 1, Arsenal are in the rearview mirror. 2, we've got the better manager. We've got Conte. They've got a B-Tech Pep Guardiola. 3, we've got Champions League. They've got Europa League. They're now 20 points clear of us. 20 points clear of us. How, as a football fan, forget Spurs, how, as a football fan, can I not sit there and admire what they've done?
That is an achievement in itself. That
You're
is.
bang on. Sam, you're bang on, and we've said this all along.
It went the narrative went from they're in the Europa League and we've got Conte, right? To all of a sudden Conte wasn't backed, but Arteta was given everything that he needed. And it's like, which one is it? Which one is it? But listen, if they win it, they win it. If they win it, they deserve it.
What you said is spot on, and I'll be the same, because there has to be a point where, look, I've made bets with Arsenal fans about like laughing at them in October, going, I rate what you're doing, but don't get carried away. But what they're doing is to go from where they were to where they are is outstanding, and it shows for me. The boring side of it, if you really look at the whole aspect of football, it's because Arteta has gone in there and changed the whole mentality of the football club. And he's demanded, we saw in the documentary, demanding, no, Aubameyang, get rid of him, right? And I was saying to a Chelsea fan today, they were like talking about managers they might get. And I said, look, a manager's great, but for me, and they're listing one that I haven't heard of, and apparently he's a good manager. I said, but he's not big. You need a manager that can go in there and tell Mr. Bowley, I will only join your club if you put in a sports director that is going to listen to me, work with me, and you're going to step aside and be an owner, right? Because that's ultimately what Arteta has done and achieved at Arsenal. That's what Man United has spent money, right? But the structure at the club is not correct. That's why it hasn't achieved.
Agreed.
So they could get Qatar. If Qatar don't put the correct structure in place, like a business, it won't work. Same with Tottenham. Levy has built Tottenham up to a point where they have everything. He just now needs to get the right person in the place and step the fuck away and say, we've got all the business structure in place. Now unleash hell and you run it like a proper football club.
Agreed. Look, guys, I don't want to go on forever. We've been going for nearly 2 hours. So, listen, I'm just going to say,
time flies when you're having fun, mate.
It does. It does. Just want to get some quick predictions then. I won't ask who's going to win the league. I'm going to get some quick predictions. Who's going to make the top 4? I don't talk about Arsenal and City. Arsenal and City, I think we both know have got it. We all know they've got it. Who are the other 2 teams getting top 4? Just quickly going round. Perchy, who's getting 3rd and 4th?
Man United, Newcastle.
Dave?
Newcastle, Manchester United.
Kaz?
Yeah, no, I think that's the case now. It's just I can't see any other team really. I think Tottenham finished 7th.
Oh, it's a whole different story. We won't get into that right now. We'll be there all day.
You 2 need a show together, by the way.
He's playing with you again, Savva.
We probably agree on that part. I think Brighton and the other teams around it are a little bit better.
Reluctantly, you agree on that part.
Spurs are, yeah, let's not even talk about Spurs. Daps.
Yeah, do you know what? I've got to give Newcastle ratings because I thought Newcastle I was backing Newcastle from the summer, but then they seemed to get carried away with the Carabao, and I thought, oh, they're dropping off, but they used this international break perfectly to bounce back. And now I think at the weekend, for a team that's never done this before, to be 1-0 down and come back and win like that, I think that's showing. Do you know what? They've got it. So I think, I think it's going to end up being nailed on. The top four might actually drift away now a little bit.
Agreed.
Yeah, going to be interesting. I mean, Spurs have got. We've got Bournemouth at home next, and then we've got Newcastle and Man United in the next 3 games.
Away.
So
Yeah.
No, we've got Man United at home and Newcastle away. So we'll know after that. But listen, I don't think we deserve it anyway. So I think it will be the 4 that are there now. But guys and girls, look, until next week, thank you to everyone in the chat. Just want to say quickly, thank you to John Anderson for becoming a channel member. A huge thank you as well to everyone that subscribed to me overnight. I've had 658 subscribers in 24 hours.
That's mad.
And it's blown my mind a little bit, but thank you very much.
That's what happens when you cook a good bit of food.
Absolutely. But thank you for the super
diverse demographic on tonight, Savva. That's what you got, like old wankers like me and young wankers like them. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, exactly. All the wankers. But on that note, listen, Kaz, thanks for jumping on. Appreciated. Please subscribe to Kaz and to Daps on Never a Foul. Please subscribe to the Perchy TV. Perchy, thanks so much for coming on. Much appreciated. And don't subscribe to Dave. Just look at his pretty face and be happy with it.
I want 0 subscribers and 0 followers. That's what I want.
It's a pleasure to share the screen with you, can I just say?
Yeah, bless you. And lads, it's been a pleasure, honestly. But I will never have my own channel. It's a young man's game. Do you know what I mean? You lads are brilliant at what you do, and I can't compete with any of you.
It's like a second job. I know that much. But listen, everyone, thank you very much. We are going to end the show there. And I will see you during the week. Take care, everyone. See you later.
All the best.